This is a special broadcast from INN, the Imperial News Network. We go live to Coruscant, where Lord Vader, who speaks on the Emperor's behalf, will now share the State of the Empire address. All citizens are commanded to give their full and undivided attention. Thank you.
Thank you all for coming. My fellow Imperials, ladies and gentlemen of the press, I stand before you today in the wake of a vicious, unwarranted, malicious attack on our beloved galaxy and every citizen who holds it dear. Rest assured, actions are being taken to bring these cowardly and disrupted forces to justice. The counterattack has already begun in the form of the boycott of Solo: A Star Wars Story. A short time ago, Imperial forces successfully executed Order 86 on this film, cutting off the revenue chain from the box office. Our message has been made clear, and our resolve has never been stronger. Our detractors are trying to blame the failure of Solo: A Star Wars Story on Star Wars fatigue. But it isn't Star Wars fatigue, it's crappy movie fatigue. Disney owns another little franchise that's been running strong for 10 years now. It's called Marvel. Audiences don't have Marvel fatigue because they actually make good movies people want to go see in theaters. Films that respect the source material and don't take a steaming crap on the legacy of fan-favorite characters. At the time of this recording, the overall box office for Solo is $312,205,474. Now that sounds like a lot of money, right? But when you factor in the cost of marketing, the budget for this film, and the fact they had to shoot it twice because they had no idea what they were doing, this sweaty bantha turd has to make close to $500 million just to break even. This film performed so badly, in fact, Disney's overall stock dropped by 1% 1% doesn't sound like much, I grant you, but when you factor in that little mouse's net worth, that's a whole lot of cheese, baby. Every problem with Star Wars these days can be traced back to the current leadership at Disney Lucasfilm, who have proven themselves to be unprofessional, unqualified, and undeniably bad at running this franchise. Kathleen Kennedy is beginning to show she was luckier than we realized to have worked with Steven Spielberg all those years ago, because now that the creative choices are up to her, we're beginning to see a pattern of failure that is truly shocking. Gareth Edwards had major problems with his film Rogue One, most of which had to be reshot by someone else, but he was handpicked by Kennedy. She then tasked the wacky duo of Lord and Miller to direct Solo: A Star Wars Story. Remember when they were going to call them anthology films, and they actually sounded like serious big boy movies? Anyway, she left them to their own devices until they had about 2 weeks of shooting left. She then decided to, kind of do her job and check up on our boys, where she found to her shock and horror that the film was an unmitigated disaster. She panicked and fired Tweedledee and Tweedledum and brought in Opie to see if he could fix it with a special brand of Mayberry charm. And when I heard he was directing, what piqued my curiosity was, who is Clint gonna play in this film? And I think that says a lot about the current state of this franchise. Now, to be completely fair to Disney Lucasfilm, they're not just inept, they're also liars. Remember the press release where they said in this film you would see how Solo got his name? And when the audience freaked out, they retracted it saying, "We just meant you'd see how he got his reputation." But wouldn't you know it, Han had no last name in the beginning of this film. He gets it from an Imperial recruiting officer who just pulls it out of his butt because he saw Han was standing there all alone. Which means this whole time in the Star Wars saga, he could have just as easily been named Han Duo or Han Trio if he'd just met Chewie or Lando a little bit sooner. The supposed casting call of over 2,000 audition tapes to find the perfect actor to play Han Solo in this film was also a farce, because Alden Ehrenreich was handpicked by Kathleen Kennedy herself. The fan favorite and logical choice to play Han Solo would have been actor-impressionist Anthony Gruber, who looks and sounds so much like a young Harrison Ford. He played the younger version of his character in the film Age of Adeline. Now, before the Film Snob Committee jumps into the comment section below and says, "There's a difference between an impression and acting, we need an actor," you're wrong, and here's why. Remember Men in Black 3? That film only worked because Josh Brolin was doing a Tommy Lee Jones impression through the entire film. And if you want to bring up that Mr. Ingruber doesn't have much experience on camera, I've got you there too, buddy, because they brought in an acting coach for Alden Ehrenreich because his performance wasn't working. So if they can bring in a coach for him, they can bring in a coach for Anthony Ingruber, assuming he would have ever needed one in the first place. I mean, just look at the guy, for crying out loud. Part his hair down the middle, give him a vest, and call it a day. They recreated Peter Cushing and a young Carrie Fisher for Rogue One for the sake of continuity, so it makes it extremely jarring when you see Alden Ehrenreich as Han Solo. It's like they went for authenticity with the other characters, but when they got to him, they were just like, "You don't think people will notice if he has a big square head, do you?" That's fine, it's Star Wars, they'll watch it anyway. Remember back when Disney first bought Star Wars, and Kathleen Kennedy said, the main thing is to protect these characters to make sure they continue to live in the way that George created them. And then, as any good friend would do, she threw away his treatments for episodes 7, 8, and 9, bent over, and took a big steaming dump all over his characters, turning Han into a deadbeat dad who gets murdered by his wimpy goth son, Luke is turned into a coward who hates the Force and won't train anyone, and Leia, who should have rebuilt the Republic and taken a rightful place of prominence in the new government, is relegated to being a sad, broken old woman who lives out the remainder of her life alone as her wacko son tries to hunt her down and kill her. And by the way, how'd that Lando thing pan out for you, Disney? You know, if you're having trouble getting people to come to your film in the first place, it's not a very good idea to announce a fundamental sweeping change to a fan-favorite character before the movie comes out. Just a little tip for the future. At least my old buddy Jar Jar is finally catching a break, thanks to characters like Rose Tico and L337. Honestly, it's like they have a bet going at Lucasfilm or something, to see who can come up with the character audiences will hate more. They brought back the stupid space gas thing too in this one. They're after hyperfuel or some nonsense on Kessel. Remember what Kessel used to be known for? The spice mines of Kessel, smashed into who knows what, remember? The wussy little butler robot I built as a child. Talked about this in the first movie. It's just like, ugh! Do you people even watch these movies? And who sat around thinking, we've heard about this Kessel Run for years. You know what would make it really wizard? Is if we added a big space octopus to it. It's so dumb. And this Star Wars story thing, I know I mentioned it, but come on, people. I mean, can you imagine hearing Plagueis, a Star Wars story, Darth Bane, a Star Wars story? I can't take the movie seriously with that stupid Star Wars story subtitle. It makes it childish and dumb. Now, when the talk of boycotting Solo first began, there was a guy on the internet that said we should be happy we're just getting Star Wars movies at all, and we should stop complaining just because they're not being made exactly the way we want them to be. The thing is, years ago, he was in a documentary film titled The People vs. George Lucas, where he and others like him whined and complained because he didn't make the prequels the way they wanted them to be made. They went after George Lucas so hard, he stopped making films altogether, sold his beloved franchise, and went into hiding. This guy has the audacity to tell us we shouldn't air our grievances against Disney Lucasfilm for the stupid decisions they're making. There's a word for this, my friends. It's called hypocrisy. Kathleen Kennedy has gone on record to say she doesn't feel she owes Star Wars fans anything. And guess what, Kathy? You can't have it both ways. If you don't want us around, you're not gonna get our money. And Solo has shown what happens when Star Wars fans don't show up. Merchandise sales are down too. I took a trip to the other evil empire on Sunday, and when I went to the toy aisle in Walmart, I noticed something truly shocking. The section devoted to Star Wars toys was only this wide. They had a bigger section devoted to The Incredibles 2, and that's just crazy. Lucasfilm has tried to paint anyone who didn't like The Last Jedi or what they're doing with Star Wars in general as a bunch of racist bigots who hate women. But the problem is, women and minorities hated The Last Jedi too. And explain this: if we hate female characters so much, why do we love Princess Leia? Why do we love Wonder Woman? Why do we love Sarah Connor from Terminator or Ripley from the Alien franchise? Why don't we have a problem with Black Widow from the Avengers, Gamora from Guardians of the Galaxy, Furiosa from Mad Max Fury Road, or Trinity from The Matrix? The problem isn't whether a character is female, it's whether the character is compelling, well-written, and has struggles to overcome. People identified with Luke Skywalker because we've all been young, feeling trapped, stuck, and yearning for more. We've all rushed into things, got in over our head, and got the crap beaten out of us by life. And hopefully, we've grown or will grow wiser when we're older and find our true selves one day and become who we were meant to be. That's why he continues to be a hero to so many to this very day. It is a dark time for Star Wars, but soon we will put an end to this destructive conflict and bring order to this franchise. Like the rest of you, I move for a vote of no confidence in Kathleen Kennedy's leadership. I just wanted to take this time to comment on the current state of Star Wars. I know this is different from my normal videos, but I've also posted one of my usual reviews, which you can check out in a moment. But before that, be sure to comment, like, subscribe, hit that bell for notifications, and follow me on Twitter. Join the Empire today. You do not yet realize your importance. Share these videos, and together we will rule the internet. And always remember, you don't know the power of the dark side.